Now, I believe the major reason that semaglutide leads to the loss of lean tissues like bone and muscle is simply because it results in diets deficient in nutrients needed to maintain lean mass. It's well known that semaglutide can reduce ad libitum energy intake in the order of about a third, an effect that accounts for the majority of its weight loss effect. Without a concurrent increase in the nutrient density of food consumed, deficient nutrient intake may result. Indeed, the few studies that have looked at dietary composition before and during semaglutide therapy conclude there are no significant shifts in macronutrient composition. Basically, taking semaglutide results in reduced nutrient intake by about 30%. This leads into the next part of my talk, the importance of nutrients for post-surgical recovery. Body tissues are made up of specific nutrients, and each nutrient must be present in the correct proportion for proper tissue formation to occur. If any nutrient is deficient or imbalanced, the development of that tissue will be impaired. Not only can this hinder healing, surplus nutrients not used for tissue repair may be converted into energy and stored as fat. Hence, ensuring complete nutrition is important in surgical patients. This was all shown elegantly in this 1975 paper, which would never pass muster with an ethics committee today. 11 underweight subjects were fed a complete formula exclusively through a vein. Being underweight and being provided with excess nutrition, these subjects were predicted to gain weight. The researchers also meticulously collected the urine and faeces of the subjects to measure the excretion of nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, sodium, chloride, and calcium. Now, knowing the ratios of each of these within bone, muscle, and fat, the researchers were able to determine how much of each tissue was being formed in each subject. Now comes the twist. The researchers then selectively removed each of these elements from the infusate. The removal of either nitrogen, phosphate, or potassium completely halted the formation of muscle, completely. Phosphate and sodium elimination completely inhibited bone formation, while removing nitrogen reduced it by 75%, and removing potassium reduced it by about 65%. So then, what about fat? What does the elimination of these four elements do to fat formation? Well, in the words of the researchers, an abundant supply of glucose seems the only requirement for the enlargement of adipose tissues, something we established earlier. So when bone and muscle are unable to be formed, the inputs which would otherwise go to lean tissues instead are directed into fat stores. Without nitrogen, phosphate, or sodium, 100% of weight gained by these underweight subjects was fat. And when potassium was eliminated, more than 80% of weight gained was fat. Let's take a closer look at bone to see how these results make sense. First of all, bone is not just made up of calcium. It has a protein scaffolding comprising about 30 to 40% of the dry weight of bone. Hydroxyapatite, predominantly calcium phosphate mineral with some other trace minerals, then packs between the protein fibres. In effect, bone is mineralised protein. The limitation of supplementing solely with calcium and hoping to build bone should now be obvious. This is elegantly shown by this randomised double-blind placebo-controlled trial. Men and women over the age of 65 were randomised to receive either vitamin D and calcium or a placebo, and their bone mineral density was monitored. Overall, supplementing with vitamin D and calcium resulted in a reduced loss of bone, which is logical. More calcium coming in means less need to mobilise calcium stored in bone. But then the investigators did something clever. They stratified the results based on protein intake. The differences in protein intake between groups being mainly due to differences in animal protein intake, as was described in the article. The striking finding for me was that the tertile consuming the most protein and receiving vitamin D and calcium actually increased their bone mineral density in an elderly population. Provide the substrates needed for bone, and even postmenopausal females can reverse osteoporosis.